Once upon a time, a different time than the time that I spoke about before, a long time ago, there was a snake. His name was Long Fang. Long Fang lived in the village of Vajeshwari. Where? Vajeshwari. Thank you. Excellent. In the country of India. Now, Long Fang had not a very good reputation. In fact, he had established a reign of terror in the village of Vajeshwari. Where? Vajeshwari. Thank you. He loved to bully the farmers, and he loved to torment the women and the children in the village when they were collecting their water in their large vases, and they would carry it on their head, and he would lie and hide and wait until they had gathered their water and they were just about to head back to their homes. And just then he would come out and he would attack, and he would spit at them, and their water would go flying everywhere, and they would scream and run and scatter in all different directions. This is how Long Fang spent his days. He had developed a hate for human beings. In fact, it was anything that moved. If there was so much as a bush or leaves that rustled, he would spit at it and attack. Not a very nice snake. He had brought great distress to the people of Vajeshwari. Where? Vajeshwari. Thank you. One day, there was a monk, Swami Madhavananda, and he was on his way to the Devi temple for his annual pilgrimage, and he was coming through Vajeshwari. Where?
In Vajeshwari.
Excellent. He was well known for having wonderful relationships with all kinds of people and with animals alike. And so the people felt it their duty to share with Swami Madhavananda what the trials and what they had been through with Long Fang. And so they did. They gathered around him and they told him all about their tales, and he listened deeply. And he simply said to them, "It is okay, I will take care of this." And so their heart was more at ease, but they were not that hopeful, because they had lived for a very long time under almost the rule of this great snake. Well, in the morning, Swami Madhavananda went out on the pathway where he knew that Long Fang would spend much of his time. And he walked along, and he sort of walked slowly, thinking, maybe he would find Long Fang somewhere along the way. Well, it wasn't long before Long Fang sat up, and he had this look on his face, and he was completely tense and ready to strike at any moment. He was ready to go, you see, you hear me? But he looked at Swami Madhavananda, and he saw such kindness in his eyes. He thought, I can't bite this man. Who is he? He seems so kind. And just then, Swamiji turned and went on his way. And well, Long Fang followed behind. Swamiji found a nice tree, a banyan tree, and he sat himself down. And Long Fang curled up at his feet. And Swamiji began to hum a beautiful tune. You see, they spent about an hour like this. Long Fang was so calm in his soul. He didn't know exactly what was happening to him, but he was happy. And just then, Swamiji got up to leave. And just as he was putting his shawl around his shoulder, he looked down at Long Fang and said, "My friend, do not attack people. It is not nice." And with hearing these words, Long Fang's crusty old heart began to break out of his chest. He understood and felt the truth of what this beautiful man was saying. And from that moment, he decided never again would he ever hurt anyone. A year went by, and Swami Madhavananda was on his way to the Devi temple for his annual pilgrimage. And he stopped in the village of Vajeshwari. Thank you. And he, thank you. And he looked around and he thought, surely I'll see Long Fang somewhere. And he asked a few people, and they said they hadn't seen him in quite a while. And so he went, and he looked everywhere. He couldn't find him. And Long Fang, it's your friend, Swami Madhavananda. Come to see how you are. Nothing. And he looked. Oh my, he sees there's something tattered and battered. It looked sort of like a snake, and he was covered mostly with flies and mud and in the water. And Swami Madhavananda gets down on his knees next to him. He says, "Brother, what has happened?" Long Fang barely looks up with one eye open. He says, "You told me to be nice to everyone, and I was. But once they knew I was not going to attack them, they began to pin me with a stick and throw me around and beat me. And the children hung me from the trees, and they swung bats at me. You see, all of this being nice, it did not get me anywhere. They only took advantage of me." And he put his head back down. "I am almost dead. This did not get me anywhere." Swamiji listened. He listened with his whole heart to everything that Long Fang said. And he took his face in his hand and he says, "Brother, I told you not to attack, not to bite. I did not tell you not to hiss." And so, come on, let me hear it. Long Fang lifted his head a little and went, "Brother, I know you can do better than that. Come on now. Great hiss. Now come on." And so he lifted his body. He was very tired, but he began to let out a great hiss. Join me now. Hiss. Come on, hiss. Madhavananda, he says, "That's it. You've done it. And so your name will be known all across this valley, and they will know your hiss. From then on, Long Fang, when anyone came close to him and he felt that he might be in danger, all he had to do was simply hiss and hiss. And people knew to stay away, and he protected the temple from then on, and he was known across the village for his great hiss. And once again, harmony reigned in the village of Vajeshwari. Where? There